Welcome back to Falkett Figures, where today I'm going to be doing another WWF Hasbro figure unboxing video, and this one is going to be looking specifically at Series 8 of the Red Card series. Red cards are nice, man. The red cards are probably the most sought after series after the green cards, I would say. There are a couple of really high end figures in the red card series, which one of which I have already. So this guy here is Series 8 Undertaker with his darker hair and his soft goods, his cloak or his jacket. That's a really rare figure. That's a figure that goes for several £100s. And I was lucky enough to get that in a trade deal, actually. I managed to trade a graded Yokozuna for that, and the bubble was in such a condition that I just thought, well, I'm taking it off the card anyway. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have got him. Otherwise, it would have been too difficult to get a hold of him. And the other one that is really hard to get, probably more so than The Undertaker, is Bret Hart. Is the repaint of Bret Hart, where he's wearing his pink attire and his silver shades. That is up there with one of the most expensive Hasbros to get. So I'm not hopeful I will get that one to unbox. Although I didn't think for a second I would get The Undertaker either. So you never know. It might happen. But the rest of the series, there are no throwaway figs, man. There's no jobbers in the Red Car series at all. You know, there's no ones you can just pick up on eBay for next to nothing. Although most Hasbros are kind of moving away from that category at the moment, but there never has, and there certainly isn't now, been any reds that you could just get for any day of the week. They're all really tough to come by. So obviously there's Bam Bam. I've talked about Bret already. I've got Undertaker here. There's Bam Bam. There's 3 others in the series. I have 2 of those other 3 today. So hopefully one day I'll go back and get the one I don't have. And if all things come together and some miracle presents itself to me at some point, I might get a Bret Hart to go along with the other guy I don't have. So the first guy that I am going to open today is one that, as I say, these are all high-end figures pretty much in the Red Car series. They all go well into 3 figures online. But I managed to get a decent deal on this one because it is in real bad shape. That is the Narcissist Lex Luger. So this card really has no value, I would say, at the moment. It's lost its hook. The bubble's actually not too bad. The bubble's dented down here. Actually dented, it's got a hole in it down here. But the card's covered in creases and tears and rips and stuff. Bubble looks pretty bad as well when I look it up close. In fact, that looks like it's been melted. Never mind the hole. Anyway, right. Regardless, the reason I went for this one is because when you see cards that are banged up, automatically my reaction is brilliant, great, something that not many people will want. But then you kind of run the risk that, well, is the figure going to be damaged? Like, if it's water damage, is the figure going to have some damage to it? If it's sun damage, is the figure going to be faded? You know, if the bubble's cracked and bashed, is the figure going to be broken or scraped or scratched inside the bubble? But this one looked okay. Certainly in the pictures online, it didn't look like there was any issues with the figure itself. And looking at it up close, I don't think there are any issues. I think it looks pretty decent. Yeah, the bubble's cracked there as well. But anyway, so yeah, let's get them open up, have a look. Here's Lex. You can already just feel, just when I picked him up there and tried to nudge his arm, you can already feel the joints are really stiff. That's the best part about taking these guys off cards, just how stiff the joints are. It's almost like so stiff you're apprehensive about doing the mechanism on it. But here's a cool figure, man. This is one that I don't think I had. I don't think I had this figure when I was growing up. But it's reused parts. So it's a British Bulldog body, and you can obviously tell by that it's got the absolutely shredded ripped torso, which fits Lex as well, because Lex obviously has always been a muscle guy, as Davey Boy Smith was. But the gauntlets, the wrist tape, or the gauntlets for Lex, have got the Union Jack moulded onto them, which is obviously part of Davey's attire. But it's not Davey's legs, because Davey had the Union Jack moulded onto the back of his pants as well. So I think this might be Hogan legs. Possibly. I think it's maybe Hogan legs. but it's Davey's top half, and obviously the head sculpt is completely unique. Tiny wee bit loose there actually, Lex. I think the hair kind of catches it, but yeah. So nice figure, a figure that was actually slated to be re-released. Waist is really stiff as well. There we go. Yeah, so this was going to come out on the orange cards because certainly from my era anyway, I've been a WWF fan. I don't have many memories of this Lex Luger gimmick. My memories of Lex Luger are USA Lex Luger. So obviously he was a narcissist first, and then this was when he first came into the company as a heel. He was a narcissist Lex Luger, and then his big face turn was when he showed the national pride by being the one guy that could slam Yokozuna on Independence Day. I think that's my recollection of it from when I was like 8. But yeah, so that was his face turn, and he became the All-American Lex Luger, and he went on the Lex Express tour and all this nonsense. But that's my memories of Lex Luger. So I don't have very strong memories of him as a narcissist. I've kind of seen videos and pictures and stuff of him in this gimmick. I think he fought, I want to say Shawn Michaels actually, at the Caesars Palace WrestleMania. Or was it Mr. Perfect? I think it was maybe Mr. Perfect. That he had a fight with at WrestleMania. WrestleMania 9, the one that ended in a Hulk Hogan masterclass when he took the belt off of Yokozuna in like 3 seconds or something. But yeah, that's the only kind of memory of this gimmick, of this image of Lex Luger, and I don't even know if that's a memory. I think that might be something that I've picked up later on in life. So a similar thing with some other Hasbros. I mean, both Neidhart and Owen Hart, the gimmick that you get them in Hasbro form doesn't really marry up with how I recall them from being a WWF fan. So it doesn't really sit perfectly well in like nostalgically wise in my mind, but nonetheless, I remember Lex Luger. I know Lex Luger. Lex Luger obviously went on to do lots of things. He was involved in the Monday Night Wars even fairly significantly on the WCW side, and yeah, he's a significant guy to have from that era of wrestling. So glad to have his Hasbro, and glad to have his Hasbro in such a nice shape. Actually, it's looking pretty bright and pretty fresh. And that thing about the gauntlets, man, that's such a shame because it is quite a nice figure, quite a well designed figure. Other than that, but just obviously by this stage, Hasbro was just not caring as much as they had done previously. I mean, you can see it when they get to the Series 11 and the green cards, and it's like they're just reusing entire figures. Like Razor Ramon becomes Bart Gunn, and like Rick Rude just becomes a 1, 2, 3 kid, and it's Jake the Snake as Billy Gunn. So they're not just reusing parts by that point, they're just reusing entire figures and putting new heads in them. So by this stage, obviously in Series 8, they were stopping giving as much care and attention to the design of the figures as they had. They were probably cutting corners and trying to do some cost saving measures, but nonetheless, decent figure. Good to have Lex. Good to have him in the collection. And great to have another minty fresh red card. But this next guy that I'm going to open up is one I'm really excited about, because not only is he a figure that I remember from childhood, from pretty late on in my childhood. I think it was towards the end of the time I was playing with Hasbro, was playing with wrestling figures, but such a significant wrestling personality from the WWF, and also within the WWF Hasbro line. This man right here, Yokozuna, I cannot wait to get him off the card. So I've had Yokozuna a few times in the last year or two. I've had him, I've got him graded, I've traded him, I've moved him on, because he's such an expensive guy to get your hands on that I just can never justify opening him up, even though I wanted to. Like every time I had him, I wanted to open him up. But you get him on anything looking like a nice card, you kind of have to keep it. It's too expensive and too beautiful a thing to just be ripping off. But won this one in a raffle, card completely warped. You can see sideways on. I could still get a few quid for this, I suppose. If I resell it, it would still go for a few quid. But this is probably the best chance, the closest chance I'll ever get to getting one to take off card. Because like I said with Lex, when you get Yokozuna on really poor cards, he's one of the figures that you can get some kind of fade in, like his head's a different colour from his body and his arms go different colours. So to have him in this kind of condition, because he looks really bright, really fresh, I think this is probably the best chance I'll get to take him off card. Even though it's not a horrific card, it's not a great card. It's certainly not a gradable card. So it's not one that I would really keen to be keeping. So yeah, just going to have to open him up, I'm afraid. Here he comes. Here is Yoko. Man, straight away, you can feel that, obviously when you're holding him in the package, you can feel that Yoko's heavier, but there's obviously the cardboard and the bubble and everything taken into account. But when you've just got one in your hand, he's like twice the weight of another, well, certainly of Lex, but yeah, even Bam Bam, he's noticeably heavier than Bam Bam. This was awesome for me. I mean, even though I've just said they probably weren't giving as much care and attention to the mould, reusing Bulldog parts, this was a completely unique mould. And this was the first time Yokozuna came into the line. And up until this point, all the big guys, all the heavy guys, Earthquake, Typhoon, Bam Bam, all used this same mould. And to be fair, it wasn't really representative of how big some of these guys were. I mean, Earthquake was massive, you know, and he wasn't really, he didn't really suit that mould perfectly. And Yokozuna was probably a little bit bigger than all those guys that had already come before him, and he wouldn't have suited this mould at all. I think if he had been given the Earthquake, Typhoon, Bam Bam mould, there would have been questions asked. So you almost had to have a new mould, a bigger mould for Yoko, and this is perfect. Just the fact that he has this kind of standalone mould, the only figure in the line that this is used for. He's obviously repainted later on for Series 11, but just to have this completely unique mould for Yoko, it just suits the character so much. The likeness is good as well. I mean, that looks very much like Yokozuna did. His facial features look almost accurate. Obviously, there's the kind of cartoony element of all the Hasbros, but you know, that's a pretty good representation of what it looked like. He was very young. I mean, Yokozuna died very young, but during the time that he was in the WWF, he came into WWF, went straight into the heavyweight championship scene, like the main event scene. And even though you're looking at him thinking, oh, this guy's massive, he's huge, when you actually go back and look it up, I mean, he was only like 25 or something when he was doing all this. You know, I think he won the title when he was 27, something like that, because obviously he wasn't the youngest ever. I think Brock Lesnar was the youngest to win the title, but Yoko was very, very young when he sort of peaked. And then when he went into his decline, when he got too heavy almost, he was still young, man. He was only like in his early 30s when, you know, he really started to pile on the weight, and they just struggled to use him because he was so heavy and so dangerous, which is obviously such a shame. But this is a great figure. Great from the point of view of WWF Hasbro collecting, this is a fantastic figure. It just has everything. I mean, it looks like it's supposed to. It looks like the guy it's supposed to look like. Its move is just like completely suitable for the wrestler. It's significant. I mean, Yokozuna was significantly bigger than the others. So this is kind of like coming back to the Andre the Giant thing. I think Andre should be just a little bit taller than he is in the Hasbro line because he was so much taller than the other wrestlers. It kind of just doesn't really sit well with me. But with Yoko, he was so much bigger and wider than the rest of the wrestlers at the time, that to have a figure that literally breaks a mold, you know, you have to create a new mold for him. That's just spot on. Great figure, great to have him in the line, great to have him in my collection. And yeah, anybody that's a fan of WWF and of wrestling generally in that time period, Yokozuna is such a significant part of that, such a significant part of growing up watching wrestling, that you need a Yoko. And I'm delighted to have him now. This is, again, just such a cool series, man. This has everything. So the one I don't have that is, I suppose, borderline obtainable is the Mr. Perfect repaint. So that's Mr. Perfect in his blue attire. But that one, again, is a desirable figure because that's one of the repaints that people, generally speaking, consider to be an improvement. So Yellow Tights Mr. Perfect was the first release one. I think that came out in series 3. I think it was 3. Yeah, must have been might have been 2, but I think it was 3. It came out, and then it was repainted in Series 8 with this sort of neon blue, and it's widely regarded as one of the few that are an improvement with a re-release. So Mr. Perfect's a desirable one, and on the red card as well, because I mentioned this when I was talking about Bam Bam. The red cards just pop. I just think that the red card just stands out when you've got them on display. It just looks so nice, and particularly with some of these characters. I mean, Yokozuna, I think it just obviously his red waistband and stuff, but it just suits the obviously you associate red with danger and anger, and this big hulking, menacing sumo wrestler looking at you. I just think that works. It just works so well. Same with Bam Bam as well. The flames and the fire on his outfit, I think that just really complements the red card. And something about them, they just stand out. They just pop. They're a really nice, really aesthetically pleasing set of figures. So obviously Mr. Perfect's going to be hard to get. I've already talked about Brett. He's going to be near impossible to get, but I'm going to strive to. I'm going to try and get them both, and come back here for a concluding chapter of my Series 8 loose figure collection. As I say, never thought I would get The Undertaker, so the fact that I do have him just says to me that there is a slim hope for getting Perfect and Brett as well. But if I don't, having these 4, man, having these 4 minty fresh off the card, that's just awesome. That is absolutely perfect. Anyway, that's it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, do all the usual stuff, please. Like, share, subscribe, comment, hit the thumbs up, hit the notification bell. Stay safe, and we'll speak soon.